really got to try on that left-hand side. What happened?
Oh, but I've gone up and over and bloody head over biscuit. It wasn't enough stability there for myself, but no, I was busting for a bit of meat this game. It didn't seem to work out.
Hello, cheers, and welcome to the Scrum of the Earth podcast, the weekly show for news, reviews, great interviews, and so much more, all about the world of rugby. My name is David Lawrence. I'm an American rugby fan who follows the game wherever I can find it all over the globe. If you'd like to get in touch, I'm on Blue Sky @ofscrum, and you can always drop an email to the scrumoftheearth@gmail.com. Well, it was another blockbuster weekend, to say the least, so why don't we jump right into it? So starting, as always, with our current updates. Back here at Scrum HQ, we've got a pretty big birthday right around the corner. My son's going to turn 9 at the end of this month. Any other parents out there who will know what I mean when they say it's completely bonkers. Like, having him has completely destroyed my ability to understand time. Like, every single day feels like 6 lifetimes. But when a year goes by, you're like, what? That was a year? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But that's how it goes, I am discovering. And, holy cow, what a great kid when he's not being incredibly annoying.
It's too good. People have to know.
Yes, Isa, it is good news this week, at least if you're considering traveling to see your team play in the Premiership. Quoting here from the BBC, quote, Premiership Rugby is trialling away ends at 2 matches next month in a bid to boost atmosphere and attendances. April's games between Saracens and Gloucester at the StoneX Stadium and Leicester against Harlequins at Welford Road will have areas designated for traveling fans to sit together. While there will be no segregation like at football matches, Saracens and Leicester will give away supporters the option to group into one block. Quote, away fans can and will sit among the main crowd. This is just giving people a choice, said a Premiership source. This is not meant to be adversarial. It's done in the right spirit, unquote. The league's governing bodies say they have taken advice from players who relish playing in front of a vibrant away support. It's expected a few hundred supporters will initially be part of the trial. Quote, it'll be enough fans to make a noise, unquote, added the source. Quote, the players say they feed off it, and it gets more out of the home fans as it creates a back and forth, unquote. Across the Premiership, stadium capacity has risen this season to around 81%, a 7% increase since 2023 as the league continues to recover from a turbulent period, unquote. Sounds like a really cool idea to me. It makes me wonder if we'll actually see the difference on the broadcast, or if we'll hear the difference on the broadcast. And, it makes me wonder which team is going to turn out to have the best traveling supporters. Who's it going to be? Like, if you have any ideas or thoughts ahead of time, please let me know. I am curious. So that brings us, of course, to our reviews. As promised, we have to start with the PWR final, a showdown we probably should have seen coming weeks and weeks ago between Gloucester Hartbury and Saracens, where a frothing crowd had gathered for what promised to be a high-scoring game. Both rosters are murderers' rows, but, the women wearing cherry and white hadn't lost since November. I had a hard time believing that was going to change, despite Sarries getting to play in the comfort of home. Naturally, all my predictions looked a bit silly as Mo Hunt left the field with a yellow card after giving away a penalty try. After a quarter hour, it was Saracens on top and the reigning champions without their scrum half. The de facto home team just managed to hold on to a lead as we went into the lockers, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this movie before. It's almost like Gloucester want to be behind for motivation or something, because they always seem to flip it by the end. They scored more points than every other team in the third quarter of games, and there was an air of inevitability as Maud Muir smashed through to claim their first lead. Saracens, they couldn't find a single point in the second half. They were thrashed pretty decisively. Gloucester Hartbury went on to win 34-19, securing a third straight title, the first time a team had done so since 2013. Can they do it next year? Honestly, I can't see why not. They're just so good and so much fun to watch. I had another sit down with a good friend, Rugby Julia, to talk about the PWR season that was. That came out this past Sunday. It was a great chat, as always. Be sure to check that out on YouTube, or just grab the audio version wherever you normally do so. Okay. That brings us over to Six Nations. Last week, I'm pretty sure I said something like, there's a million permutations and possibilities for Super Saturday. And while I suppose that mathematically may have been true, in the end, all France really needed to do was win, and they didn't even need a bonus point, because if Ireland or England caught them on table points, they'd still have the tiebreaker with their points differential. On Saturday, Ireland struggled a bit against Italy, much to the surprise of everyone, especially me, but they got there in the end. The Azzurri had one final shot, the final moments winding away, but a desperate offload from Capuazzo went forward, and that was it. You could see the anguish on his teeny tiny 11-year-old face, and if I lived in Italy, I would imagine that was a moment that will dominate the headlines. But in the end, frankly, it was business as usual. Ireland winning 17-22, maybe too much usual is what people are saying this week. And that secured a disappointing third place for the year. England took on Wales in Cardiff, the home team, hoping to not completely embarrass themselves and to end their historic losing streak. Not going to lie, I skipped this one entirely, only checking the score after the fact. Sometimes you just have to respect yourself, Like England took them out behind the woodshed, a devastating final score, 14-68. Chandler Cunningham South, he had a great game, but that was that. Like England handing their neighbors the wooden spoon. And if anyone can tell me when Wales are going to get another test win, get in touch, because it's hard for me to see. Side note, the RAP podcast, that's WRRAP for Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast, they did a full breakdown of the devastation of this match in the Six Nations tournament. It was great. Not because of the results, not because I'm like, yay, they're so sad. Like, and not because of this, sad state of Welsh rugby, but because of the passion those guys bring. Like, it was just a really compelling listen. They always do great stuff. I highly recommend the ep that came out. I think it was on Monday. Of course, we had Scotland going to Paris to face Les Bleus. It was still tied right before halftime, but Thomas Ramos, he nailed a penalty. By the way, from that spot, I sincerely doubt he's missed since he was like 1. And that took France ahead as we went into the break. Let's face it, Scotland didn't look good. It was hard to blame them for wearing their, semi-pro hockey team kit from 1996. France made a disappointing campaign feel just that tiny bit worse, beating up on the Scots 35-16. It was nice to see Gail Fickou back out there, but you know what wasn't fun to watch? Finn. Dude, I don't think I've ever been less impressed by him than the performances we got in this tournament. I like to lay a lot of blame at Gregor Townsend's feet, but if your star players are massively underperforming, like, what are you going to do? Anyway, moving way down to the other side of the world, it was Super Rugby Opiki. It was round 3 this weekend, in fact, and your game of the week had to be I did this in the reverse order. I'm sorry. I'm starting with Opiki, and I just went to the wrong part of my silly little script. Hold on. Yes, both of these matches this weekend, pretty lopsided. The early season woes for the Pua especially continued. I'm excited to say that I'm again chatting with the fantastic Alice Soper right after I record this, in fact, to look at the competition and her Hurricanes in greater depth. So absolutely check that out. So the Blues, they're clearly the team to beat this year. They extended their streak 7-28 on the road at Matatu, with Sylvia Brunt scoring the first 2 tries of the day. Meanwhile, the Chiefs' Manawa served notice that they are playing for keeps as well, smashing the hapless Hurricanes 46-7. I had planned to chat with her a couple of days ago. I listened to her pod this week, and I'm glad she's had a couple of days to chew on it and cool off a bit, because a little bit rough. As I mentioned a few weeks ago, this competition is very much a sprint. After round 3, we're already halfway done. Teams play each other home and away, and that's it. So get in while you can. I think it's fair to say it looks like the Blues comp to lose this year, but the idea of a Manawa Blues final already does have me pretty excited. Now, where can I come back to? There we are. The other game. This is where we actually had a game of the week, and I picked this week Highlanders versus Hurricanes. David, why on earth would the Highlanders be involved with the game of the week, you ask? You're always telling us how terrible they are, and even the few games where they're favored or take a commanding lead, they end up losing. So what gives? The answer is simple. My friend Jan, former special guest on the pod and USA Eagle Hall of Famer, was down in the Aotearoa with her partner, and were there in person for the match. Got some great photos from her. It was super exciting. Jan, I hope you had an amazing time. I hope the crazy flight was worth it. I'm so thankful for the updates and the photos you sent. It was incredible. For YouTube viewers, the slide I'm showing right now is a pic that Jan sent me during the game. How good is that? If you're watching on YouTube, I just said the exact same thing twice. Anyway, the game itself, this, They really drew a line under how bad the Highlanders have been these last, years and years. Only the 2 of their last 23 wins had come against Kiwi teams, and that includes their unlikely defeat of the Blues 2 weeks ago. You know what made my Highlanders much better? Yeah, having Aaron Smith. Not an easy guy to replace. So as I watched, I was looking out, to see if I could spot my friend in the crowd. Realized a few things. First of all, it was kids round. I think that's what they're calling it this year, though. They didn't do the fun stuff in the lead up, like, having kids interview players or give their analysis or, predictions and stuff like that. What they did do was have Marvel Kit Day. And my Highlanders naturally ended up with the Hulk design, possibly the ugliest kit in human history. Sam Gilbert, he came in third on the Highlanders' all-time leading scorer list, but he came in with 279. And who's number 2? You guessed it, Limo Sopawanga with 849, more than triple. So that's going to be a tall order to get there. Anyway, it was 11-8 at halftime. Not exciting. Both teams seemed to have the same game plan and knew how to, defend against it. So it was kind of like watching two fists punching each other. At 56 minutes, though, down 4, my guys decided to go for the corner rather than the points, promptly muffed the kick. If there's a better microcosm for Highlanders rugby, I can't imagine what it would be. More bad news as Jordan Nareki had to leave the field late. The guy can't get a break with injuries, and neither can the team. But we still did have a shot. Gilbert missed another kick that would have given us back the lead. There were still only 2 points in it as we ground into that final quarter hour. Once again, I know I've been harping on it. Like a high tackle, it was right in front of the lead official and in front of a touchy, like, no call, no problem. It's the only thing I don't like about this competition. Like, headhunting is totally okay. And this time it might have cost us the game. I'm probably just bitter. It was an obvious penalty, maybe a card, right in perfect kicking range. And we were down 2. Instead, we get zilch. Oy vey already with this stuff. Right at the end, Sam Gilbert again. He called for it and had an open shot at a drop goal, but shanked it pretty badly. That was at least the third crucial kick he botched on the day. This one, it ended the game. 18-20 was your final score in Dunedin. Great win for the Canes and a frustratingly typical loss for my Highlanders. Meanwhile, the Brumbies and the Fijian Drua got the home side a nice bonus point win, 38-21, thanks to some late game heroics. The Chiefs of Wakanda took on the Blues of where is Spider-Man from? Queens, I think. Gotta say, had a lot of back and forth with some friends about the revival of the Marvel kits. I still hate everything about it, but I understand other people feel strongly and very differently. My biggest thing, my confusion, I guess, is still the Captain America kit. Like, why would anyone from a country besides my own want to wear a Captain America anything? Anyway, if there was a superhero called like Captain Germany and the Free Jacks made a special jersey featuring Captain Germany with like sausages and lederhosen on it, I'm not buying it. I'm telling you right now. Anyway, Akoi, he was back in the starting lineup, immediately made a mess of things for the Blues as he relentlessly attacked the breakdown. Let's be honest, this was a big day, a big moment for the Blues. They won it all last year, and this season has been a bit of a nightmare. Side note, Mark Talea, dude, like, he doesn't even make sense. Like, we're now at a place where defending players know that he's made of magic, so they're bumfuzzled as soon as they see the ball in his hands. Like, right around the 18-minute mark, if you watch the replay, there's a laugh out loud moment where he takes a second and he's like, what am I going to do? And all the defenders around him freeze. They're like, what's he going to do? Like, if you can freeze out would-be tacklers before you've even made a move, that is some next level stuff. Anyway, a gorgeous try to make it 29-19 with a quarter hour to play led to an insane 32-31 nail biter. It felt like it was going to come down to Ben O'Keefe, but the Chiefs, they did hold on, got their revenge for last year's final. Over in Christchurch, the Crusaders put a walloping on the Western Force, 55-35. Never even felt that close. Just an old school dominant performance by the Crusaders. We also had a nice Aussie derby with the Reds looking to get back on track against the Taz. Follow-up side note to last week. Last week, Australia and Queensland in particular were rocked by a storm that spread devastation across the region. They're obviously still recovering over there. To thank all the first responders who are always the greatest heroes among us. They had one deliver the game ball, and she looked exactly like the type of person I would be deeply proud to know. All the first responders, volunteers, emergency workers, as always, thank you sincerely for all you do. You are what makes humanity good. In any event, Tate McDermott, he got the start, which always surprises me because his superpower seems to be the change he can bring in when he comes in off the bench, but that doesn't mean I don't like him. I think he's phenomenal, but sometimes it just works to have somebody that you know will come in win with a half hour left and just change the complexion entirely. This game was close, or so I thought. I don't know, maybe I spaced out or took a nap while I was making dinner, because I could have sworn it was tied, but when I looked, it was 28-8 with less than a half hour to go. That was one of the most moments of the weekend for me. By the end, the Reds had smashed them into a fine-paced 35-15, and oh my stars, this comp is just so good. Anyway, we've got other stuff, because back home here in Major League Rugby, of course, our game of the week was my beloved Free Jacks and their home opener against longtime rival NOLA Gold. Shockingly, we didn't get a blizzard this time. In fact, it was legitimately nice out. There were people wearing shorts. I can faithfully report that ticket sales continue to pick up as our section is now completely sold out. You literally couldn't get a single ticket in our area. On one hand, my instinct is to complain because I like complaining, and because parking was harder, getting in was harder, getting out was much harder. But this is my team, and packing that stadium week in and week out is great news for the franchise and for the growth of MLR. So I guess I just need to start leaving a little earlier. In any event, it was a heck of a game. My Free Jacks stealing a win with the clock already gone past red. It was an incredible finish. Jedzilla himself, busted through to snag that final score. And at Fort Quincy, if it had a roof, it would have blown off. What a moment. Vian Conradi, he was back starting at 8. He is so damn good. It's scary. My guy, LaRue Milan, and also, fellow Namibian, too, Vian Conradi. He had another great outing at inside center. Jason Patras, the general, was his typical brilliant self until he went down very late, had to be helped off. I'm honestly quaking in my boots as we await an update. I still haven't heard yet. It wasn't clear if, I hear about this a lot in rugby. It's not clear if he was hurt or injured. A very rugby distinction, to be sure. But I know he didn't come back once he left. Nola, I hate to admit, they looked pretty good. We were sweating it right until the end. Joe Daufete, he looked great, as always. And Ruben de Haas was a thorn in our side all day. Quick side note here. If any listeners are anywhere near us and haven't come to a Free Jacks game yet, you really have to. It's such a great experience. The fans are top notch. At one point, I was talking to my neighbor and pointing out some super fans who are, you're guaranteed to see them every single match. And I pointed out Bunny and I pointed out Spider, and she kind of just looked at me, and it was the first time I realized that they both have animal names. And so the rest of us, my whole area, decided we're going to pick animal names of our own. From now on, I would appreciate it if you would call me Panda. So an incredible game, an incredible day, incredible music, craft beer, fantastic fans, a dramatic win right at the death. Does it get any better? Final score for the return to Fort Quincy, Free Jacks 35, NOLA 31, an absolute thriller. So quickly around the rest of the action, the Second City Pupsters took down DC 30-26. The Miami Sharks lost to the rugby team of Latter-day Saints 19-36. But the big news was the Bellends, the Acorns, Los Angeles Rugby Football Club. They beat the Seawolves of Seattle, a really annoying result to me since we just lost to them. But a great result for LA, and another wrinkle for a competition that just gets better, not year by year, but week by week. So as things stand, Chicago are surprisingly on top of the Eastern Conference at 4-1. New England and DC are both 2-2. Miami are 2-3. NOLA are 1-3, and stupidly named Anthem have yet to record a victory as a franchise. Out west, San Diego remains our only unbeaten team at 4-0. Utah and Houston are both 3-1. I'm a little surprised by that. And I think Seattle and LA are both 1-3, but as I mentioned last week, the website had not been updated. Getting a little, it's a little tough. My friends, by that music, you'll know it's time for this week's Diamond in the Ruck Award. This week, the award goes to Mia Venner. Ms. Venner, your lightning pace and understated toughness helped pave the way to an historic win for the Cherry and Whites this weekend. A three-peat, something that hasn't happened in 12 years, and a big part of it was your scoring, your relentlessness, and some of the work on defense. Unbelievable. Mia Venner, congratulations to you, for you are this week's Diamond in the Ruck. Well done. Okay, that brings us to our updates and previews. Wow, do we have a lot coming up. So all your usual suspects are back, including the top 14, the URC. Even the Prem appears to have awoken. We're into the second half of OPK 2025. Super Rugby and the MLR are on to round 6. The Sevens returns to Hong Kong. Can't wait. And it's the debut of the WER, starting with what's sure to become a great rivalry. The New York something or other, who cares, versus my Boston Banshees. Can't wait to have a rugby team beating New Yorkers again. I have missed it. Anyway, if I've missed anything at all, you know what? Reach out and let me know. I am always keen to hear. Well, my friends, that does it for another week. I'm a bit overwhelmed with the sheer amount of rugby right now. But on the other hand, if you think I'm going to complain about too much action, you have not been listening for very long. So, to all of you across the globe, cheers, talk to you soon, and be well.
It gives me great pleasure to be here today.
Oh, it does, Nate.
You want to tempt the wrath of the whatever from high atop the thing?